Hello everybody, my name is Tony Sampson and I'm your West Virginia Regional Coordinator for McCuho for this year and next. And my first Tony Talks didn't go over so well, so what I'm hoping to do now is to do videos, post them on YouTube and on the Facebook page, and get some conversations going in the comment sections and seeing what we can do with engaging on our own time. We have closing coming around the corner. A lot of us are just getting back from spring break, and then right after closing we have summer conferences for a lot of people. And so I'm hoping to do these videos instead of the go-to meetings. That way we can engage on our own time and we can share comments. We could, ask a question, answer a question, and then come back to it whenever we can. So those are my goals. And the first topic I want to talk about, and hopefully my first series, because I want to do a 3 to 4 part series on this, is going to be about transgender students. And part 1, just like anything else, you need to go over the basics. So part 1, I really want to do going on terminology and language of the people who are in the transgender community. I once was a transgender student in the West Virginia public higher ed system, and now I'm a transgender professional in the West Virginia public higher ed system. And so I just feel like I can talk a little bit about it. Part 2 will hopefully be about how to engage students, how to learn more about them, get deeper into this. It's a little less from terminology and language and more into like the different struggles they may be going through. And part 3 will hopefully be about how to program for and with transgender students on campus and how to work along with them, get them more engaged in residence hall associations, hall councils, maybe helping them apply to be RAs, making them feel safe and secure in the housing area to get onto our leaderships. So like I said, my name is Tony Sampson. I got a history degree from Shepherd University up in the Eastern Panhandle, and then I went to Marshall University and got a master's in leadership studies. I identify as queer and trans, and we'll go over those terms in a little bit, but that's just a little bit about who I am. And if you have questions more about how I identify, please ask in the comments. I am an open book. I'm a walking billboard for the trans community. Like I at least try to be. And so that's something that I really want to do. So please, if you have any questions about anything of my personal experiences, feel free to ask. So like I said, we're going to talk about terminology and language. And the first term is ally. And I hope everybody who's watching here identifies themselves as an ally. An ally is anyone who's part of the majority or dominant group who helps advocate and support the oppressed group. So in this case, anyone who is non-LGBTQ, who identifies as straight, cisgender, helps advocate and supports and really helps the LGBTQ community get equal rights, feel like they are part of the community, part of America. And so that is what an ally is. Coming out is a very common term, but just to go over it, it's anytime someone comes out as lesbian, gay, straight, bisexual, anything like that, they're coming out to you. They are expressing to themselves that it is okay to be who they are around you. Now, they can come out to a small group of people, an individual, or a large group. Also understand that they might be out to the RD staff. They feel comfortable with you because you're a supervisor and you have built that rapport with them, but maybe they're not ready to come out to their coworkers. They're not ready to come out to their peers quite yet. So just understand that it may still be in the closet to a different group of people that is still in the same family, but they're just not ready to fully come out. And next is cisgender. Cisgender is what the majority of the population identify as. And this means that you were, for example, when you were born, you're given the gender identity female, the gender markers female, and then you grew up and you were fine with that. You might be a masculine female, you might, play a lot of sports, you might wear a lot of masculine clothes, you might do things that are traditionally more masculine, but you still identify as female. You're fine with being a masculine female, so you are still cisgender. It has nothing to do with your gender expression. It's really how you feel on a gender identity level. Same thing with men. You may be a feminine man, but you are fine with being a male. You like, how you are, and that's, you have no qualms with anything. So cisgender, and a very surface level, that is what cisgender means. Trans man, this is how I identify as. And trans man is simply you were given the female marker at birth, and then as you grew, you felt more masculine, more like the male gender identity was right. You started expressing yourself more as male, not just masculine, but you wanted to express as a male identity. Other terms is transgender male and also F to M, or female to male. Now F to M and female to male are kind of falling out of favor with the trans community. And Laverne Cox from Orange is the New Black and a lot of trans advocacy she does, but she speaks a lot about this, and it's about focusing more on the the student who identifies trans in the moment, and not on their transition, not from who they were, what was their old name, how do they used to look like, what do they look like with long hair or short hair, and what do they look like 10 years after they have surgery and hormone replacement therapy and all that. It's more about focusing on who they are now. So normally transgender male or trans man normally is a more acceptable term nowadays. Gender is a social construct. It's from your emotional, behavioral, cultural characteristics attached to a person from when they were born. The gender is constructed, then classified as an individual, feminine, masculine, androgynous, or other, as we develop the spectrum. The three, masculine, feminine, and androgynous, doesn't always fit into the categories. We have developed a big spectrum of where you are, and so gender is expanding, and it is a social construct, but as society grows and becomes more progressive, we are able to have different genders, such as transgender and so on and so forth. Gender fluid is a person who does not want to be related to or identify as a fixed gender. They don't want to be masculine, feminine. They don't want to be male or female. They don't want to be transgender. They want to identify somewhere out of the box, and that is, they don't feel like man or female really fits them. They might want to dress masculine and identify as a very, very masculine way one day, and then just completely flip the coin and do the other side of it with feminine characteristics, and that's okay. They don't want to check either box when they fill out their housing application. They want the other box. They want not even the transgender box. They want the completely other box. Gender nonconforming is a little bit similar to gender fluid. The key difference is its behavior and appearance, and so they might stay in the middle. They might not flip the coin as much, but they might wear masculine pants and then feminine jeans and do different things like that. They're fairly similar, but it's just how they identify as. And much of this is a personal identification. Most of these things that we're going over, it's just how someone identifies as. And there will be one change in the word in the definition, and that speaks more to a person than the other word does, and so that's how they identify as. LGBTQ. And this is the umbrella term for the LGBTQ community. You used to be able to say gay, the gay community, and it would be all-encompassing, but now, to be more inclusive with the language, we do LGBTQ, because gay, normally you think of gay males and lesbians and all that. They feel like they weren't being heard as much when you just say gay community. So the LGBTQ community is more inclusive. A lot of people still say LGBT, and that's perfectly fine. The Q that has been added either stands for queer, questioning, but LGBTQ is still, or LGBT is still perfectly fine to say when talking about the community as an umbrella term. Trans woman is the flip side of the trans man. It's someone who is identified as male at birth, and then throughout their growth and experiences, they wanted to identify more as female. It can be feminine, it could be gender expression, all that. It's very feminine, it's very female. So they have gone through, or will go through, or maybe not, but they feel like they want to identify as female names. They want to identify as female on their forms. It's someone who is a trans woman. Other terms is transgender woman, or M to F, male to female. But like the female to male, this term is falling out of favor as it focuses more on the transition of a person and not their current experiences. Queer is a bit of a touchy, controversial word because nowadays it's an umbrella term that describes anyone that sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression does not conform to heteronormative society. But while it is now used positively, and you hear people talk about the queer community, queer literature, queer, people identify as queer, such as myself, a lot of people are still triggered by that word because it was used for so long as a demeaning word, as a way to hurt people. And so such as you need to ask people or see where your comfort level is with that word. I'm fine with that word if you use it positively, if you use it to describe like the community or myself. But other people, even if you are using it positively, might still be triggered negatively with that feeling. And so just see how you are with that person and what their comfort level is. Questioning is also the Q in LGBTQ, and that's just anybody who isn't sure, and we get a lot of that in college. We get a lot of people come here and they think they have a really good idea of who they are, and then they start exploring, reflecting, and maybe they don't know if they're gay, straight, bi, maybe they don't know if they're transgender. I went through a huge questioning year, my sophomore to junior year, about being trans, and my high school to freshman year at college, I went through a big questioning phase of, am I gay, am I lesbian, what am I? And so a lot of people explore their questioning phase through college stereotypically, but it does happen, and so understand that is also the Q in LGBTQ. Sex or biological sex, this is what you were assigned at birth. This is purely based on genitalia and chromosomes, of course hormones and things like that, but typically they are assigned male to female, and in some cases some people are assigned intersex, which is completely separate from transgender. If you want a definition about that, let me know, but I just want to focus on things that are trans and not muck up different communities together yet. And then transgender is anyone who identifies as a gender that is not their sex, that wasn't on their birth certificate. And the importance of using inclusive language, and we all should know this, but just to reiterate this, is that people shouldn't assume heterosexuality and different relationship status. Use words like partner, significant other, SOs, things like that. It really helps people feel more welcome. And it, if you're talking to someone new, you're like, oh, how's your boyfriend? And like, oh, it's my girlfriend. Maybe they weren't ready to come out to you, or maybe they feel like they have to lie and talk about their girlfriend as their boyfriend, or boyfriend as their girlfriend, or whatever it is. So just leaving it more open-ended. Being aware that sex and gender aren't the same, perhaps instead of asking people what their sex is, ask what their gender is, and really ask what their gender is. Don't just assume that what's on their birth certificate is how they identify. Leaving open-ended questions rather than selecting boxes. I know some of us have to do select boxes, but if we can have those times where people can put in what they want, or we can have them where they can fill it out online as what is on what is registered at the registrar, but with us in housing, maybe we can have our applications be where they can put their open-ended gender identity or sexual orientation identity, whatever that may be. And then avoiding generalization and stereotypes. And I'll talk about this a lot, in the fact that my experience and Laverne Cox's experience and all these different transgender people who you see speak about their personal experience that do have some overlapping qualities with a lot of transgender people, but is not not all journeys are the same. People transition separately. They have different steps and spectrums they go through, and so understanding that what is going on with one person, with one student, isn't what's going on overall. It can happen with multiple people, but there's different issues with different people, different accesses to healthcare and such things like that. And so understanding that, don't generalize the stereotypes people based off one or two experiences that you've heard about the trans or any community, whether it be the person of color community or whether it be a gay male or lesbian experience. Everyone's different. Everyone goes through their own different experiences. And again, thank you so much. That was me. Again, my name is Tony Sampson. I'm an RD at Twin Towers East at Marshall University, but more importantly, for you all, I am the West Virginia Regional Coordinator for McCuho. That is why I'm doing this video. That is my email, Sampson27 at Marshall. And if you like to blow off steam the way I do, and you have an Xbox Live gamer tag, mine is Awesome Tony with the zeros as O's. So please hit me up. Let's blow off some steam together. But that's it for right now. If y'all really like this series and you like me to talk about a different subject, let me know in the comments. Please have an open conversation about different terms. If there's terms that I've left out, put them in the comments. I would really appreciate that. Please engage with each other. Thank you very much, and I hope that my next part will be able to help educate. And if, like I said, you want any other topics that aren't about transgender students, about other parts in housing, emotional support animals, I'm really big on that. Just let me know. Thank you very much.